listening to The Two Marks, exclusively on the Pod Station.
Welcome, listeners, to a new show brought to you by The Two Marks. This time we're embarking on a vicarious journey of discovery through the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Hold on to your hats as we follow one person's experiences watching all 23 movies in chronological order. This time we're reviewing Captain Marvel. Welcome to the Marvel Marathon. Let me introduce my friend and co-host, Mr. Mark Pollard. Hello.
Hi, mate. So I don't know how to address this. I mean, should we start by introducing the star of the show?
I just did, didn't I?
No, not me. Ishtar's been nice to the guest. God, you can't take him anywhere, can you?
No.
Would you like to introduce the guest? And then I'll ruin your opening.
Let's welcome said vicarious journey person, Ishtar.
Hi.
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 You're back?
I'm back.
So you must have enjoyed last time.
Yeah.
Well, we've just let her out the cupboard.
Yeah.
So I'll spoil your intro now, because number one, technically it's not a new show because this is the second episode, so does that still qualify as a new show?
It's new for those who listen.
Got ya.
It's not new for us because it's for people who may not watch them in order.
So
it's always new, no matter which one you listen to.
that's a markism.
Mm-hmm.
And secondly, so for the purposes of rebranding, I've called this the Marvel Rewatch. So you're going to have to change your intro at some point, or else I'm going to have to change the branding, and it's sort of a battle of wills. In fact, I'm actually quite interested to see who would win the battle of wills, whether it's me or you.
I'm not that precious about it, so probably you.
But then I can't now be precious about it, or else I look more pretentious than you do.
Well,
so this is where the battle of wills has begun-ish.
Yeah,
Interestingly enough, though, I've actually titled it the Marvel Rewatch Show, but because I came up with the intro on the first one, it's technically not wrong. I can do a wild track and just redo that intro.
No, I insist you keep it. I like the fact you've just copied and pasted. It shows conscientiousness and...
Well, you're going to have another 21 of these, so get used to it. But it's a Marvel marathon. Whether the show's called the Marvel Rewatch is separate, innit?
It is.
Listening to you two argue this point is just what I live for.
Well, I mean, unfortunately, we haven't got enough time, so thank you for visiting us.
No problem.
Tune in next week when we're reviewing Iron Man, isn't it?
So, Ish, should we explain to people what it is we're actually doing?
We are reviewing all 23 movies of the Marvel Universe.
Isn't that my intro?
Yeah, but I
but it comes better. She says it better than you. She didn't copy and paste hers.
Hang on a minute.
It was a bit more straight to the point.
Would you say it's sort of a Marvel marathon of sorts?
Perhaps.
Which also includes rewatching.
Yeah, but I said mine in one sentence and you took 5.
And that's one sentence with 2 commas.
Oh, God. Why are we doing this?
Because I have watched the Marvel series and got you two re-buzzing about all the films, and so we are watching them all again, and I am starting the journey chronologically.
Yes, so she's not doing it from release order, she's doing it based on time order of the movies themselves. So episode 1 was Captain America.
Yes.
Which is now currently your number 1 Marvel movie.
Indeed, because it's the only one that we've seen. Well, we'd reviewed by then.
And so we're watching number 2, which is...
Captain Marvel.
Captain Marvel. Which weirded me out, and we will come to this in a second. If people want to check us out on social media to throw in their 2 pennies worth, either to tell us about how they're getting on, because they might be doing the same as you-ish, and watching this for the first time. Let us know how you're getting on. Let us know what your thoughts are about the Marvel Universe. If you're not, and you're just using it as an excuse to rewatch, that's just as good. Let us know. We're on Instagram, Facebook and Twitter, the 2 Marks. It's that simple. Let us know. If you want to email us, it's the 2 Marks at thepodstation.co.uk. I don't know, if you want to write an essay, letting us know how you're getting on. Then, yeah, cool. So, shall we move on to the film itself?
Sure.
Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
Now, I'm interested to ask you first-ish, because then I want to ask you a similar question, and I'd be surprised if the answer is the same. How did you feel about watching this film on the back of the Captain America one? Did you feel that they were sort of, they led on to one another, or that you felt it was in the same universe, or, yeah?
Well, we left 1940s with Captain America, didn't we? And then we fast-forwarded to the 1980s. Is that approximately right? No?
Ish. Well, 95.
Was it 95?
Yeah.
Oh, well, there you go.
Because of Blockbuster.
Oh, was that not around in the 80s?
Not that one.
Oh.
I don't know when Blockbuster set up, but anyway, it's 95.
Okay. So, one film isn't connected other than Nick Fury, who, by the way, I love. Because we've got to see more of him.
And the Tesseract?
And the Tesseract, yes. But other than that, there was really no other reference, was there really?
No. What did you think? Because the reason why I kept the question vague was you're watching this for the first time, so for you it doesn't feel particularly weird that you've watched Captain America and then you moved on to Captain Marvel.
No.
For you, Captain America was brought out in, what was it, 2017 or something?
It was phase 1, wasn't it?
11.
And 2011,
Oh,
God.
check me, fact checking.
Woo! Oh, yeah. Captain Marvel wasn't released until just before Endgame.
2019.
Yeah.
So there was oh my God. She's after your crown.
Yeah,
She's Wikipedia'd that, hasn't she?
Yeah. I mean, that's the one that you sit in front of it without sort of a notebook and use your...
Hey, I actually know that because I did check it when I was watching it on Disney, when the release date was, because I figured it might be a question. I was preempting.
No,
Yeah.
very, very good.
Are you impressed? I did it for your...
For me.
He will, but I'm thoroughly impressed because you've done more homework in that one exercise than I have for every episode we've ever done.
I take my job seriously.
So what was the question?
Well, did it feel weird? Because these films are massively apart in our world.
Yeah, this film's in a completely different phase. It's like phase 3, 2 phases ahead of Captain America. To answer the question, it was interesting to do it that way because it actually nicely ties into Captain America in my whistle-stop tour of the history of the Tesseract. The Captain Marvel film is 1989 to 1995, just for the record.
Good to know.
It just shows you where the Tesseract is and has been and how it ties into Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and other stuff. So it was nice to watch it that way. Have you put your hand up?
Oh, bless her. She's at school.
Oh, sorry. You know what, if you wanted more time, you just needed to have said.
No, I want to ask about the Tesseract because I can't remember where the Tesseract ended in Captain America and how the Kree ended up with it.
Well, because in the end of Captain America, it crashes and it ends up in the sea, and then Howard Stark retrieves it from the sea in a deep sea, like a bit like James Cameron finding the Titanic.
Yeah.
He does a huge search for it and finds it.
But they don't find Captain America at that point, do
No,
they?
because the Captain America is not in the sea, he's in the ice. And the film that you haven't seen will explain that.
So when he crashes in 1947, him, the plane, and the Tesseract all crash, but they manage to find and retrieve the Tesseract, and that's then in Howard Stark and the Shield's possession.
Yeah, because it falls... When he's crashing, where he's flying to, it falls out of the plane.
Okay.
Because Red Skull disappears, and it falls into the sea, and then he takes the plane to avoid all the populated areas.
How does Dr. Lawson get it then? Because she's got it on that ship.
Because S.H.I.E.L.D., she's working with S.H.I.E.L.D., isn't she?
She works for S.H.I.E.L.D., yeah. Because we find out...
Basically, Howard Stark puts it in a cupboard, and she finds it in a cupboard, and there you go.
Yeah, you find that... One of the...
It might have been a drawer. I was paraphrasing with the cupboard.
It would be probably... I would put it in a drawer because a cupboard's just a bit of a waste of space, isn't it?
I don't know. It's cuboid. It'd fit quite nicely in the corner, wouldn't it?
If you had loads of them, you could stack them, couldn't you? So it's in the S.H.I.E.L.D. Outpost or scientific research lab.
Okay.
But you see, the thing is that over the course of the films that you haven't seen, a little bit of the... it makes it more difficult for me to try and answer some of your questions.
Yeah.
But you'll find that across the course of the films, a little bit of snippets of where it's been and where it's going. So which is where kind of it ends up.
I love the way you just waving your finger around like we're going to be able to understand what it is that you've just scribbled on there.
I'm reading the notes and thinking half these things I can't talk about, you've not seen. So I can't mention the Avengers.
You just did.
I just did, but I can't remember. It's not.
Well, you can actually because it's mentioned in this.
Only
at the end.
Only technically.
And in the...
No, you see, we can't mention it. We'll come to this, but we would strongly recommend that anyone watching these for the first time not watch the post-credit spoilers. We talked about whether people should or shouldn't. Now,
we watched it.
Did you?
Yeah.
And do you feel it's spoiled? Because
No, but we'll come on to that at the end, because otherwise we'll spoil where we're going.
Because it's kind of chronological, because that's literally my last 2 Easter eggs.
Yeah.
Okay, so...
Explain the rules, I think, because we're jumping around a bit.
Well, that's quite right, yeah. Rules are no spoilers. So if you're watching this for the first time ever, this is your first Marvel journey, then we will not be spoiling, or we will be certainly doing our best, and if we do by accident, it is generally by accident. We're not trying to spoil anything. We will be adding padding. I know, I was a poet and I didn't even know it. We'll be adding padding two things because they're in the comic books. Because when I was watching this the first time round, I haven't read the comic books, and I still haven't read any comic books, and I found it really useful for people like Mark who told me things in the comic books. So to use the example from the Captain America one, if you've listened to that, we talk about the Infinity Stones. Well, the Infinity Stones are in the comic books, and because the Tesseract we know is an Infinity Stone, although I suppose we don't technically know that now, but
no, we don't. No.
I found it quite useful to know that at the time, and so you gave me some background as to what an Infinity Stone is. And
although technically in the comics in 1989 there is a bit which explains about the Tesseract and how it gets into how the Infinity Stone gets into the Tesseract.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of jumping ahead a little bit because it leads itself into a character that I believe is in your notes.
Okay.
I think the best way, because it's extremely difficult, isn't it, with these ground rules, to not steal your thunder, and hopefully I'll navigate the best I can with your questions.
So, I suppose the first question is, what did you think of Captain Marvel?
Not as good as Captain America, because it's a bit cliche.
What?
Yeah, a little bit cliche with the woman superhero thing. Although there were some fabulous characters in this that I actually was surprised about. I'm not a big fan of women superheroes generally.
Which is an interesting take, actually, and I'm glad it came from you.
Do you feel the same?
He hates women. All women.
Oh wait, can I
In fairness, he hates men as well. He just hates everyone, does Mark?
Can I say that I watched the Captain America What If?
Oh yeah, did
I was
you?
not impressed with the buff for Captain Carter.
She did look quite...
I quite like that kind of look.
That explains a lot, Mark.
Yeah, I know.
So, sorry to divert, but...
It's a separate podcast.
He likes to be pinned down.
I always think that if you can't have a good fight in the bedroom and
lose
that's
on
purpose,
he deliberately failed his fighting course, didn't you?
That's why I had to.
You said you slipped, but did you, buggery? You just wanted that.
I wanted to get battered by an Amazonian in the face. I mean, to be fair, 16 stitches later, I probably decided I should have just battered her. Anyway, we digress. That's a completely different podcast, isn't it? Mark's Marvelous Fantasies. This story is the retelling or the updated version of the comic.
Okay.
This film is extremely confusing for many, many reasons. This particular iteration of Captain Marvel is from the most recent comic version of her.
Okay.
Not to be taken from the 1980s earlier comics, nor to be confused with Ms. Marvel, nor to be confused with DC's version of Captain Marvel. #Shazam. #Black Adam. Marvel trademarked Captain Marvel in the 60s, and in 1972 the Force licensed the character and had to rename it Shazam because they weren't allowed to use Captain Marvel.
I hate you. You've just stolen one of my very few Easter eggs there. I don't know many things, but somehow I managed to stumble across that. In fact, you might have told us that on that previous podcast we did. So I was basically stealing your facts and recycling them as my own.
Do it.
Sorry. Well, am I apologising? I'm apologising for putting the effort in. Well, no, that's exciting though, because copying is a term of endearment, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Or laziness. You choose. Why don't you like women superheroes as a general?
Because it's always cliche, like, oh, they're really weak and then they become strong. And I know that was the same with Captain America, but there's a little bit of a difference. This, again, is an underdog story. She was always battered down. She, was put down by her dad and then tried to get in the army and then, didn't. And then all of a sudden she, gets zapped by that energy. And so becomes all superhuman. So
you can hear the sympathy oozing from her voice.
There was a lot of criticism when it came out about the feminist approach to it, because it's written by a woman, and they've gender swapped some of the characters in the story, and the origins of some of the characters are different. And in fact, separate to that, whether you go down that line or not, one of the things Mark and I discussed, and I think actually you brought it up, if memory serves, when we did the Captain Marvel podcast, which is available on
A Film Podyssey, or the two Marks. We
were talking about, it's the perennial conversation we have about Superman. Captain Marvel is there with Superman because the reason why she's not around when it matters is because she's that powerful.
She'd just fix it and it wouldn't be very interesting.
I can't say what that is. It would make sense when you see the film. But yeah, but basically, it's suffice
he gets
to say,
this nervous twitch in his eye when he's not allowed to talk about something.
It's like Inspector Clouseau. Because she's so powerful, it becomes a Superman situation.
Yeah, it's
and
a bit
then
boring
you go,
at the end
well,
for that.
why bother?
Yeah.
And why didn't Captain Marvel float your boat then?
I mean, there were characters in the film that I loved. So Talos was my ultimate favourite, just because his one-liners were amazing. And I liked Maria Rambeau's character too. I thought that was a good character. Even the daughter, Monica, which was good.
Yeah.
But her herself, I mean, not really.
I thought she was alright.
I don't know if I don't like her as a character, like as an actress. Maybe that's why it put me off.
Which one's this? Is this the person who played Captain Marvel?
Yeah.
The banter. I thought the banter between her and Nick Fury.
It was good.
Was good.
It was good.
I mean, there's been other series which we've discussed where I've felt it's a bit forced between characters, and particularly if you're trying to put someone forward as being witty and funny and what have you. But I actually thought she did that really well.
That was the only highlight of her character, pretty much. The fact that she was funny. Yeah. Other than that, I wasn't really buying the story.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to go from your notes, or shall I just throw questions at you?
Throw questions.
Okay.
Let's do it.
So should we start chronologically then?
Go on.
Yeah.
Because we start in we start in an alien environment, don't we? Start on, what's it called? What's the Kree planet called? Hallam?
Hello.
Hala.
Oh, nearly.
Okay, so let's start on Hala,
Yeah.
the Kree planet, and we almost jump straight in, don't we, to she's fighting with Jude Law's character, who's called whatever.
Yonrog.
Yonrog, thank you. Look at her.
Glances at notes.
I know, but I didn't know.
Whatever, I still made notes about it, so
Right.
I sounded clever.
1 point to you.
Woohoo!
Well, she's one more point than I have.
You can regain it.
How do you feel about the alien setting for this? Because it's quite a distinct difference from the Earth setting that we find with Captain America, which is obviously very much set in a time and on a day which you're probably familiar with from other movies.
It wasn't that great, really. Given that this was made in 2019, the planet that they landed on to get rid of the Skrull was a bit blah. Could have been anywhere. Just a bit
She doesn't
dark.
like Marvel,
I
she
am.
doesn't like the planet.
Yeah, I'm a bit critical today, aren't I? But that's how I feel. It wasn't amazing. The shape-shifting part of the Skrulls was amazing. That was the thing that captured me as part of that particular, part of the film.
It's interesting that you've gone from the first show we did, oozing excitement, joy, and favouritism to certain characters,
Bucky.
and then this one is getting a bit of a lukewarm reception, isn't it?
I know.
Has this dampened your enthusiasm?
No, because Nick Fury's character has really come into himself on this one.
But you've not seen him yet, have you?
I have.
Yeah.
He's
On
in
what?
this.
Is he all the
No.
way through there?
No, I'm talking about before this film.
No, but he was a
Only
snippet
briefly
in the last one. But the fact that they've introduced such interesting characters, although it's Captain Marvel, actually the Flurkin, brilliant. Talos, brilliant. Fury, really good. And I would say, and Maria Rambeau, I think those characters made the film rather than her, for me.
I know. Well, I think that's a really interesting take, considering they've just renamed the sequel the Marvels.
Oh, right.
Which is not a spoiler because that's fact. It was going to be called Captain Marvel.
Well, if
2.
you've watched this film, you'll know she's not dead.
Yeah, no, yeah. So, because of the series Ms. Marvel and because of Monica Rambeau,
Yeah.
which is not, it's confirmed they're all going to be in Marvels.
Right.
But because they've recently just changed the name from Captain Marvel 2 to Marvels or Marvels, I wonder whether it's a exit stage left for Captain Marvel because of the lukewarm reception.
So to answer your question, it hasn't dampened my spirits because I was still excited by the other characters, just not by her necessarily.
Okay. I mean, I must admit, I'm ignoring for a second the difference in when these were released. I wasn't as big a fan of these sorts of settings because they're alien settings. I feel more detached from the storyline.
Because you can't relate, because you're not an alien.
Yeah, you can't relate because I've never been to an alien planet. Not yet, anyway. I'm hoping...
Not Latham has.
I was waiting for that. I thought it was going to come from this side. I've been anally probed. It's actually not that bad. Lube's the answer.
Well, I'm waiting for Bezos to let me go on his enormous penis plane.
I'm glad you finished that sentence off.
Yeah,
I'm waiting for Bezos to go on his enormous penis. Well, you could do it like I did and went, I can't make it, I've got a prior engagement. What is more important than going on a spaceship? That's better, yeah.
I know, that's so true.
Isn't it?
Yeah, idiot.
You just paid 100 million.
I know.
And you go,
Oh, God, get
whatever it
me a
was.
haircut.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, I've got to have a smear. Anyway, the good thing about that is he gave it to some student, didn't he?
Yeah.
So happy days, how good's that?
It's just...
Yeah.
He's just made that guy famous.
The
Student
first one.
won't pass his degree, but he'll be famous because he's been on a spaceship with good old Jeff Bezos, where the investors were panicking. Can you imagine? Where's Jeff? He's in that.
What about the beginning to the film?
How far at the beginning?
Well, we've had a bit of a fight, so I presume there's a bit of backstory there. They move quite quickly through her backstory, really, to sort of set the scene, don't they? Did you get a good feel for what the story was going to be, or who she was, or did you really understand it by the time you got to when basically the Skrull string her up and plug her brain in so they can see her memories?
Yeah, no, it was too quick at the beginning. I think the only time that I felt like I knew her backstory was when Talos was at Maria Rambeau's house, and then it all suddenly made sense, all the history, because even the flashbacks when they hung her up upside down, it was still not 100% clear as to what. I still had questions, like how did her memory get wiped, who the hell was, Dr. Lawson, etc. So
they've changed a lot of things there as well,
Yeah.
which will be covered later in the show.
Okay.
But what I did like, actually, when I first remember watching the trailers, I liked the sort of use of the exposition between her joining the armed forces, and there was a little bit of maybe link to when we see Captain America before he gets the serum, when he's doing his best to jump over all the assault course. There was the bit where she kept falling down,
Yeah.
and they spliced all those scenes together, so you see her getting beaten up by Jon Rog and falling down, you see her in the explosion falling down, you see her when she's trying to do all of the training to be a pilot and falling down. So they spliced all them together to show, I suppose, this,
That she needs to stay on her feet a bit
she
more.
needs to stop drinking when she's on Jesus. But yeah, I mean, I like the trailer. I think there's a lot of it to show the sort of female empowerment and stuff.
I think that's probably what put me off. It was
Yeah.
just too much in your face.
Yeah, and the thing is I mean, there's
Well, the theme was very much control. At the
Yeah.
time it came out, about she's being controlled by various people. She was controlled by her
the-
dad, she was then controlled by the army,
And then
she
by
was
the
controlled by the Kree. So there was very much that theme or thread running through
yeah.
at the time. But
And
you're not impressed at all.
Nah, Captain America was way better storyline for me.
You need to be careful when you're telling these stories that you don't get all political and nonsense, because that's what loses it for me. It's escapism, isn't it? You're watching it to be enjoyment, isn't it?
It was enjoyable, it just wasn't better than Captain America.
But you
Well,
didn't-
don't spoil your rankings already.
Oh.
But you didn't go and see a film called Jon Rog or Talos, did you? You went to see
Or
Captain
Fury.
Marvel. Yeah, or Fury. You went to see Captain Marvel. So the fact that your sort of cipher characters are the ones that gave you the enjoyment, something's gone wrong somewhere, hasn't it? Because Talos is a really good character.
Yeah, I
Because
would've-
the guy who plays him's Ben Mendelsohn is a very good actor, and for a species you haven't seen much of, or at all, in fact, you actually get a bit of the humour coming through, don't you?
a massive amount of humour, which
Yeah.
is why I loved him so
Yeah.
much. But am I the only one out of the three of us that thought this was she was not great?
So, in terms of how she played it, I thought she was okay, but I'm just not a fan of the character because she's too powerful. I have a Superman complex, which I've discussed before, where if they're too powerful, I find them quite boring because they can never be beaten, they can never lose. They'll always come good. I want someone who's beatable. Like Captain America can be slapped around a bit by someone who's had a super serum or a more powerful person, whatever that might be. So it might be someone with super serum and a load of toys as well. Whereas Captain Marvel, she's pretty much indestructible, which makes me go, yeah, I'm not really arsed when you're in a fight because I know you're going to win.
Yeah, because even Captain America, he hasn't got super serum in him. You know what I mean?
Just said that.
Yeah. But there's nothing else though, has he? He hasn't got anything. He's not super fast, is he?
No. Yeah, he is.
Is he?
Yeah.
He
Hasn't
ran
he just got better endurance?
No, he's super fast, yeah.
in his
He hasn't got
bed
super speed.
Yeah, he has.
I think he has enhanced things. I don't think he has.
Oh, yeah.
We might. Well, haven't seen how big his biceps grew in that machine. Let's pro-rata that. Me pants are tighter. That's where he was going, to be fair. No, I don't think he's not a speedster. He has enhanced. He's an enhanced. Arguably, he's not a metahuman per se. He's a enhanced person.
I
don't know. In fact, he did, because he ran when he was chasing
the
the
taxi. That's what I was just thinking.
When he was chasing the
how can
Hydra agent after he'd been done, he was super fast.
Yeah.
So he is.
Yeah.
You're fundamentally wrong. Yeah, like super fast.
Write in and tell us.
He's not the fastest, but he's faster than me. I mean, most people are, but let's imagine I'm Usain Bolt. He's faster than Usain Bolt by a considerable margin.
I'm faster than Usain Bolt rolling down a hill. No, he's not a speedster. He doesn't have super speed. I think I'm going to go with...
He's not the Flash. Should we just leave it there?
Right. Well, we might do. Let's fact check this.
Okay.
I think he has enhanced abilities, which makes him fast, and endurance-wise, he could run for a long, long time. So therefore, the guy he's chasing is going to run out of breath at some point, which means you slow down slowly, which means you're faster.
I feel we're digressing.
Well, we probably are.
You've mentioned the Skrull. You seem quite infatuated with the Skrull. At what point did you become infatuated with the Skrull? Because let's be brutally honest here, they're not depicted as the good guys.
No, they're not.
The first half of this film.
They're not. I think.
So how prejudiced were you when you first came across the Skrull?
I think because they could shapeshift, that piqued my interest, because they could be anybody. That is very cool.
Yeah, but so you liked them from the get-go?
Yeah. Even though they were baddies, I was like... I did think that they were baddies.
So she's judging the book by his cover.
Yeah, but I told you
We've
I
already
like
found
baddies.
this with Bucky. She's just shallow, isn't she?
But I like baddies anyway. I like Red Skull second.
Well, hang on. You didn't say Red Skull first, though, did you?
I'm not going to that again.
Backpedaling.
Beep, beep, beep.
Yeah,
there's a reverse gear, everyone.
Yeah. Who was your first one? Bucky, and then the second one was Bucky.
No, I usually like baddies anyway, because I like the characters.
I know, but there's a difference between liking the baddies and thinking that they're baddies, which is sort of the point of the question, really.
Yeah.
Did you automatically assume that the Kree were the goodies and
100%.
the Skrull were the baddies?
Yeah, just because that was how the story was told.
Looking back in context, which part of that story suggested that the Skrull were the bad guys? Because, and they make quite a good point later on in the movie, when she's kidnapped. Now, bearing in mind the Kree were sent to that island at the very beginning and started shooting everybody up. She was captured by the Skrull, but if someone was shooting you, you'd probably try and capture someone. And on that ship, she was the one who killed everyone. The Skrull didn't do anything. They weren't even torturing her. They weren't causing her any pain, were they?
No.
And she's the one who went around battering the living tail-outs out of everyone and killing people.
Yeah.
No shoes on.
And then when she landed on Blockbuster, we were chasing the Skrull.
Yeah.
But the Skrull didn't hurt anyone in that process, did they?
No, they didn't.
And she did punch out an old woman on a train.
Yeah.
So what? I'm not being pedantic. What I'm saying is, it's interesting that you've done exactly what I did, and it's understandable because they obviously intended to do that, but we've assumed the bad guys, even though actually looking back through the film, there's actually nothing that they did at any point that made them the bad guys.
Because it's preconceived that Captain Marvel is on the right team.
Absolutely. Did that come as a surprise? Did you have any inklings?
What, that the Skrull were goodies?
That you might find that it's reversed, that the goodies that you thought were goodies were actually baddies.
Yeah, and I like it when that happens, when they lead you down one path and then all of a sudden there's something that happens and then, oh my god, they're actually goodies. So, and I think I texted you as well, I was like, oh my god, they're actually fine because they've met their families or whatever. So it's kind of nice that you've proved wrong sometimes.
Well, I'm never wrong, so I wouldn't know that. I'll have to take your word for it.
Well, when you do the fact check on the speed, you'll soon find out.
Well, no, I'm confident with that. I'm happy with that.
You weren't for a minute, though.
No, but I feel like I've talked myself in. I'm all right.
I think Ishtar's talked you into that one.
Yeah.
You campaigning. So, no, but that's an interesting take on the film, though, isn't it? Because you go there, don't you, straight away with preconceived ideas.
100%.
Because you know it's going to be a good superhero film.
Yeah.
You just immediately think, don't you?
Even though there was no reference to Captain Marvel for that whole first segment, so technically that was another really... I'm not really coming across very well with this, with all these shallow comments that I'm making. I should have probably looked a little bit more deeper and be like, should I really... Are they really the goodies? Actually, though, Yon Rog, with his yellow eyes, did make me question whether or not the Kree were actually goodies or baddies.
Yeah, you can't trust anyone with yellow eyes.
Yeah.
Again, we've flip-flopped slightly because we've now assumed that all the Skrull are good guys and all the Kree are bad guys, having jumped to the conclusion that it was the other way around, but that's still not the case, is it, Mark?
Yeah, so there's goodies and baddies. The problem is now we're moving into realms that we can't technically talk about because they're in different, they occupy space in different TV shows and properties.
But the Kree Skrull War is something that's in the comic books, isn't it? That they have a big ding dong just generally.
Well, there's two big things actually. You've got the Secret Invasion, which is actually going to be a show on Disney, which will touch upon, I imagine, the infiltration of the Avengers that took place because of the shape-shifting and things. And then you have the Kree Skrull War. Well, in fact, there was a couple. The one from 1971/1972 by Roy Thomas is basically a war that just enveloped everything, and unfortunately, where Earth was positioned, we were kind of in the middle of it. So then the Avengers had to step in, so we didn't end up being kind of wiped out by it because we were in the middle of it all. But it was well, there's been two wars. This one particularly is the one that was Roy Thomas wrote about in the comics before he was employed by DC Comics. But it was just massive because it just spanned different universes. Like any war, I suppose, just because it's not on Earth, it was just across universes. But there's splinter groups, so you find like with Ronan, who's Kree, you don't know much about him, do you? Yet.
Well, he was introduced in this film, wasn't he? And yeah, I didn't know that he was Kree until right at the end. Well, he was obviously liaising with Yon Rog, but I wasn't 100% sure what that relationship was between Ronan and the Kree at that point, because they don't explicitly say it. Because he could theoretically be just in alliance with the Kree if you were watching it like I was watching it, like I didn't know if he was part of it. So
well, he is actually Kree, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
Yon-Rog isn't Kree because he's not blue, I assume. I don't know what he is.
He's Yon-Rog in terms of the Star Force, it's just a group of people.
Yeah.
So it's like just an elite team. In the comics, they're not good Star Force people.
Yeah, because none of them had blue.
No, they weren't very nice, were they?
Yeah.
Basically, the Star Force team, when you first see them, they look like they're going to be good, like sort of like your SAS team or your Navy SEALs. They're just sent in, infiltrate.
Or Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, I was actually going to give reference to Guardians of the Galaxy because it did give me the feels for Guardians of the Galaxy.
Are we talking? Can we reference?
Well, we can't. We can. I mean, people will know that Guardians of the Galaxy exists, and I suppose it's no spoiler because we know he doesn't die in this film. That Ronan does reappear in the Guardians, but I won't probably go any further into what happens, where he fits in, and so on. For me, it was quite interesting because seeing Ronan here first and then seeing him in Guardians of the Galaxy makes a bit more sense for me now, because I didn't really know who he was when I first saw him, because I saw those movies the other way around because of the release dates. So that's quite interesting.
Well, I made a couple of notes because I saw your notes. So
and you raised them a page.
So in terms of the Kree, they are one of the most technically advanced races in the galaxy. And then what you get is an introduction to the progenitors and the Celestials, which, for anyone know, that the Celestials are mentioned in other films and has just been seen in the latest trailer for the Eternals, which I will mention another time.
No, it's fine. You can mention it because people will know these things are coming out. It's just a wider comic.
Yeah, well, it's definitely. This is all comic book based, by the way. So it's no.
These are new things that have been introduced.
Yeah, they already exist.
Brace yourself. This gets complicated. I haven't quite wrapped my head around this yet.
I am going to be doing it like I'm doing on my board. I'm going to break it all down. What came first? But you've got the progenitors who experimented on the Kree, and as a result of that, created the first race of the Inhumans, which is a show to watch. And then obviously through
it got cancelled after one season, didn't it?
It wasn't one of the strongest of series, if I'm honest, and I can say that having watched it. But through Terrigenesis, they do this process where they hold it's like a rock, and the rock breaks and you're in a confined space and you breathe in the fumes, and basically that either kills you or it gives you essentially a change to your makeup and gives you a power of some sort. So not quite X-Men, but you become what's known as an Inhuman. But because the progenitors messed around with the DNA of the Kree, they ended up creating the first race of Inhumans. And then the Celestials got involved separately, and they created the Kree Eternals and the Kree Deviants. Now, anyone who's seen the Eternals will know that the only reason why the Eternals get involved, which is why you didn't see them in any other film, because they're not allowed to get involved, they only get involved if it involves deviants.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so that's the Kree. And then Ronin is never actually given a military title. So although he's referred to as Ronin the Accuser, never ever 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 mentioned in any time. It just knows that he's a military, like a rogue military person. The reason why the Ronins are mentioned is because of the fact that the ships that they are in aren't known as the Accusers. They just basically do carpet bombing. So that's why he kind of gets that title.
Now, did you recognise Stan Lee in this film?
Yes.
Nice little Easter egg side thing there.
It was.
Yeah.
What's the double Easter egg? Have you got the double Easter egg?
Isn't this when just after he died? And so that's not really him.
No, it is.
Or it's a CGI version of him. Is it?
Yeah, because that was my. I'm surprised you didn't open up with this.
Why?
Because it's my first. It's my first Easter egg, which is it's the first film to be released since the death of Stan Lee, and they do a different intro to the film.
I did notice the intro, but to be fair, I have only watched 2 officially, and
That's true, actually, isn't it?
yeah.
Sorry, I've forgotten your reflection.
Oh my god, I can't believe you didn't notice that the second film was different from the first.
I mean, what's the average of that? That would be 5, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Not 1. So yeah, so you don't know this, but actually no, technically no. Actually, have you seen Blade? Have you seen X-Men? Have you seen?
Yeah, but
You won't remember the starts. I mean, how
12.
long ago was it that you watched that?
ages ago.
Yeah.
But I didn't really watch it like I'm watching the films now. It was just on the TV in the background.
He's not in Blade, actually. He's in Silver Surfer. He's in Fantastic Four.
It was a lovely nod to him anyway, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was nice. So anyway, as Mark said, do you want to tell them what it?
No, you go ahead.
So it's not CGI. They refused to do that, which is why in Deadpool they didn't do anything like that. It's just a picture on a wall.
Quick question. The words escape me. How? Oh, what's
Deep as your love.
How nostalgic were you when they landed into Blockbuster?
Oh, majorly. That was a nice little nod back to the 90s, apparently. Yeah.
Could you smell the popcorn?
Yeah.
I love Blockbuster.
Yeah.
Oh.
I
You know
did
that was
too.
the actual last Blockbuster in America.
Was it
Wow.
really?
Yeah, they filmed inside the actual last one ever in Oregon.
I was gutted. Still gutted. Being able to go to Blockbuster at the weekend to pick some films.
Friday night.
Do you know they had to ask for Arnie's permission to blow his head up? You know, they had the
Oh, really?
the thingy of Arnie
Yeah,
and when this skull shoots and his head goes kaboom.
No way. How did you know that? Wikipedia.
Facts.
Okay.
I probably got it off Mark from the previous recording, but I'm using it.
This man's put the effort in. He's been listening to the Marvel. He's watched the film and then listened to our
I feel
podcast.
his level of research is epic.
Well, I can beat that because Mark probably told me that it was going to be The Mask.
Oh, why?
But they couldn't get the rights for it, so they did Arnie instead.
Because it's kind of, you remember the last action hero film?
Yeah.
So when they swapped it round and it was Stallone.
Yeah.
There's a bit of that, isn't there, kind of going on. It's all like nostalgia stuff. 95 was a really good
80s
time
and
to be.
90s, yeah, 80s and 90s.
But he's like he's like Murder, She Wrote when he's been typing. He's like, oh, he's got the podcast going on, he's watching the movie, he's typing away. He hasn't got it on the back of a stamp.
How did you feel about old Nick Fury? You've said you already liked him, but did you notice the fact that they'd CGI'd him to be young?
Didn't have to do
Nick
much though,
Fury.
do they?
Oh, he's annoyingly young
Isn't
looking,
he?
isn't he, for his age?
Didn't even pick that up.
Did you not?
No.
They do de-age him very well, but one of the things, and I can say this without being racist, black doesn't crack. You can say that because there's someone. Well, okay, I'll evidence that with a fact-based thing. Is I've just watched not Chris Eubank
Yeah.
doing a KFC thing. Now, how old's Chris Eubank? He must be in his 60s.
He'd be in his 50s.
I
at
challenge
least.
you to watch it and tell me he does not look his age.
No, I mean,
You
good
know.
genes, innit?
No, exactly. I'm happy with that. That's why people don't like it.
Oh, God.
Holy
You can
crap.
cut that bit out, probably.
Yeah, I'll say.
But it's not true. Well, I'm not racist. I think black people
I'm not
are great.
saying you're racist.
No, but
I'm
I think
saying...
it's just more jealousy because, I mean, lovely teeth. Massive. Anyway.
Right. So
he knows which bit to cut out.
So the
Nick Fury, we were talking about.
The de-aging, I mean, that was probably the easiest de-aging project they ever had to do.
Probably,
They
yeah.
just had to brush out some of his grey hairs on his head.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it, because he did it with Kurt Russell, didn't he? Other than just to tell you the fact that they did. What they said that the makeup people did some jiggery pokery magic, and they used very little in the way of CGI de-aging. So I suppose if you've got multiple $1 million, you can just afford to have good skin.
But you didn't notice it, which sort of gives you an example of how good.
Yeah, I was too busy kind of understanding what his role was, picking up on his lines, the fact that his eye finally went. Was right eye or left eye? Left eye.
Left eye. Right eye in the comics.
Yeah, you know.
But can I just pick up on that, actually? Because I wasn't overly happy about that explanation. Sometimes less is more. Sometimes you don't need to know all of the things, do we? Because I felt that was a little bit of an anticlimax.
About his eye?
Yeah.
I thought it was...
Because throughout all the things that you haven't seen, there's a question that is brought up about his patch, and he makes it a bit like the Worf, when Worf's asked about Klingons, and he kind of says, we don't talk about that type of thing. He does a Nick Fury type thing, and to then be explained...
Well, it's like Han Solo and the dice in the Millennium Falcon.
Yes, exactly that. You don't need to know, so for example, as a viewer, when somebody walks to a door, you don't need to see the door handle turn to know they've gone through the door. It's implied. So for me, I just felt that was a little bit of over-explanation.
I like the humour of him constantly potentially losing his eye. It was always that eye that got damaged or injured throughout.
Yeah, I think the whole relationship with him and the flirking... And that's the reason that led to the loss of the eye was actually nice.
To lose an eye because of a massive pussy is...
I was waiting for someone to say that. I thought it was going to be Pollard.
Well, I have put Nick Fury loves pussy
in the eye. So that's the worst case of pink eye you've ever had.
I'll say.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, to lose a retina...
Oh, man.
What I am particularly interested to know is what you think of Nick Fury as a character, because he's very different in this to what we've seen him as.
Yes, because he's in a different time of his career.
This is young Nick Fury.
He's essentially like level 3 now.
Yeah, so describe to us what you think Nick Fury is as a character.
I like him as a character. I think it's interesting to see him evolve from being just a SHIELD agent and not knowing about aliens to then being convinced about aliens because of the whole car thing, and then understanding, because he joins forces with Captain Marvel pretty quickly. I like him as a character.
Why?
He's witty. He is a do-gooder. I do genuinely think that he wants to make sure that people are safe, and he's funny. And I always like humour in films, which is why I like Talos so much.
Marvel does humour very well. They've got a good balance, don't they?
They have a good...
I mean, I like the fact that this is a different Nick Fury to the one that you will come across by virtue of the fact that it's 20 years on. Is that right? Yeah,
roughly,
20 plus years on, isn't it?
It's more than, isn't it? Yeah.
Because the Marvel films are generally set roughly, I know it's not strictly true, but roughly the year they come out, and there's slight variance in that. So if a film was released in 2011, they roughly work on the basis that that's the year that the film is set in.
Yeah.
If it's set in the present time, so obviously Captain America's 1940, whatever it was, but like the present, when they went to at the end of Captain America, it went to the present day, that would have been intended to have been 2011. So you're seeing Nick Fury bald with a patch on his eye 20 years on from when you've been watching him here, and obviously there's a lot, well, we all change a lot over that sort of time, don't we?
He's more grizzled now and seasoned.
Yeah.
So there's the level of that accumulative knowledge, wisdom, experience that is now, which is what you're seeing in him. I mean, the only with the timeline with the films, there's a credit to Marvel, because Endgame set in 2023, and then Spider-Man Homecoming is they adjust the figures because obviously they retconned it into Iron Man 3. That's the kid he saves, and you haven't seen any of these, have you? So but basically what Marvel do very well is they future-proof their films, because by the time we get the next film, we will actually physically be in 2023.
I remember you said.
So that means that they can plan stuff that's set in that time, and when we arrive at that time, it fits. And then we've had COVID, so that's helped them a little bit. although maybe not. So anyway, no, but that's good, isn't it? Because as you watch the films, as he pops up, you'll see how he has developed.
He's a lovely character in this. You really grow to love him.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, you know his middle name, don't you, by the end of this? Whereas I've always known him as Nicholas J. Fury, whereas he uses the old Joseph, doesn't he?
Yeah.
I forgot about that, yeah.
Well, I think 'cause it's in my notes. All right, what about Coulson? Because Coulson will mean very little to you because he only has a very, very fleeting appearance in this film. But he is someone who does play a bit more of a role in the future MCU. I mean, as far as you're concerned, Coulson has hair.
Yeah, and he was only in the film for like 10 minutes or something, right at the beginning where he lets Fury go, covers his back. That was good.
Yeah, but more importantly, he has hair.
Okay, but that doesn't mean anything to me.
He has bad
But
hair.
more importantly, he has hair.
I feel the de-aging of Coulson wasn't quite as successful as the de-aging of Nick Fury.
No,
I'll take your word on
that
that
was
one.
never going to work.
It looked like a gerbil had just laid on his head and died.
They just basically shoved like a massive tuft of hair.
Okay, I didn't even...
I think when you're trying to aid some... Well, you're
I
trying
think
to...
what we're trying to say is that the older Coulson has less on his barn. The hairline has receded.
Okay.
With introduction to Coulson that you've seen, as small as it was, what did you think of that character?
Good.
Yeah.
I mean, he helped Fury and Captain Marvel get away, and that's a good thing. He didn't follow instruction, he deviated a little bit.
Oh, he's rogue.
He is a bit rogue. We love a rogue.
You do. There's a pattern here, isn't there? I might take a little bit of a chance here and go, every single film, you're going to pick the baddie out of every one.
Hell yeah, I am.
Bucky wasn't a baddie, was he?
I see him as an anti-hero.
In this, he's not.
No, Bucky's not even in this.
In Captain America,
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
he wasn't.
No, but I mean, nobody.
I know where you're going with it, but let's not go there.
No. No. Can I not just go rogue?
No.
You like rogues, you just said? Rules are meant to be broken. Where I'm going, we don't need rules.
If you were a Skrull and you could turn into anyone, or let me rephrase this a different way. If you had a Skrull at your disposal, is it a stupid question to ask who you would have him turned into?
Okay. I know.
Even though you knew it wasn't Bucky.
Yeah, because Bucky might be fighting intergalactic wars for long periods of time, so it might be really handy to have Skrull Bucky.
Do you realise how shallow that is?
Yeah, I'm not coming across very well.
No, because what you're saying there is you would make someone else, Bucky, just visually Bucky.
Well, it's something like cosplaying it, dressing up in the old bedroom.
Yeah, but how many people do you... Yeah, what you don't do, though, is you don't go to a cosplay thing, kidnap a cosplayer... Then dress them up as somebody else.
Hey, you added the kidnapping to that scenario. I at no point did I say the Skrull was being held against his will.
Yeah.
Too many people get carried away with LARPing, and unfortunately it never ends well because they believe the people that they're dressing up as to be the people they are when they get them home, and they're a financial tax advisor. It soon ruins the fantasy.
Alright, so wait a minute. Which Skrull characters would you transform into from Marvel?
I'm interested to hear Mark's, actually, seeing as he posed the question.
Oh, well...
Superman.
As we're going shallow, it's Black Widow. Gotta be Annie.
Captain Britain. We'd have a good tussle. Followed by a pie dinner and a moonlight walk.
Oh my god, I can visualise it.
What would happen is she would throw a shield and I'd have to run after it.
You come back like a panting dog.
Brilliant.
I think I'd probably amble. I'm a bit unfit. I'd just a leisurely walk.
Now, Talos is an interesting character because in the comic books, his full title is what, Mr. Latham?
Well, it originally was Talos the Untamed.
And that was why?
Because he was one of the major Skrull, wasn't he, in the whole thing?
Well, he was unable to shapeshift, wasn't he?
He was unable to shapeshift. That was the main thing. But he lost his title, didn't he? Because of... Well, I made a note. What should happen when they get captured is they're supposed to commit suicide.
Okay.
As part, like with the Japanese,
the Germans in Captain America.
Or Hydra.
Well, yeah. Hydra, yeah, but I mean, historically, you'd be like, what
Samurai.
Yeah, samurai. Yeah, also, but what the other Japanese called the gangsters, what they call?
Oh yes, I know. Yes.
The yakuza.
Yeah.
So where they kind of Hiraku, is it, or something, where they kill themselves? But the samurai.
The triads.
Yeah, the triads. So one of them, part of their thing is like sort of ritual suicide. So he got captured and he was supposed to kill himself and he didn't. So as a result, he lost the untamed part, but he can't shapeshift, as you rightly say.
But he can in this. Although we didn't see him shapeshift after he got shot at the end.
No.
I wonder whether in whatever future movies he may appear in, he might lose that. Interesting.
True. Didn't think about that.
Well, you'll soon see him in the new Disney series, Secret Invasion, sorry. Because he's going to be in that with Nick Fury.
I was just more concerned about the fact that he didn't die, because I didn't want another character that I like to die.
Yeah, but in what they've done is, which is what I was talking about when we talked about the Captain America and when we did another podcast, that the MCU adapt storylines to suit their purposes. Mm-hmm. So what you sometimes need to do is go to the core source, the comics, because otherwise what happens then is your reality becomes what you watch rather than the reality that is the comics. So in this, he can shapeshift, which obviously is all power to the storyline, because we know that he's going to have a bigger role.
That was fascinating that they did that.
Yeah, it was fascinating, wasn't it?
It was fascinating.
I mean, that was the word I used.
Was it?
No. No, but I'm glad you brought that up. So
Oh,
so he was disgraced and he lost his title, but he can't shapeshift.
Hashtag interesting. What about the storyline that went with her getting her powers? I mean, did you find this? And to be honest, I'm still slightly confused about the Marvel thing going on. So you've got the Marvel, who was the
Dr. Lawson,
and then you've got Marvel,
which
who is Danvers become. I don't know. Are you as confused as I am?
There wasn't a direct reference to her as Captain Marvel, was there? Really, that I saw. In this movie, all you saw was Nick Fury mispronouncing Marvel to say Marvel. So that was the only nod to it. Yeah.
Latham, can you shed any light on this?
So Marvel in the comics is a man.
Confused.
Well, no, that's because they've taken the story from Kelly Sue DeConnick's storyline, and they first of all made the Supreme Intelligence female, and then they've made Marvel, who is a man in the comics. They've changed that, but they've also made who's the character?
Lawson.
Dr. Lawson, Marvel.
I like that she was a female, though.
Yeah. Well,
but why is she called Marvel?
because she was Captain Marvel.
Right, so she was the original, and Thingy Danvers takes over from her.
Carole Danvers, because they've changed the origins of the story of how Carole Danvers gets her powers, because she's supposed to be, I mean, it's in my Easter eggs, but she's supposed to be a hybrid human Skrull. But
so can she shapeshift then in the comics?
No,
it's all very confusing, isn't it?
Yeah, because she's a hybrid, she can't. But
so what's the other perks of being a Skrull then? if you can't.
Well, that's a question actually, and I'm glad you brought that up, because if you can shapeshift, can you add matter? Can you create matter to areas that you didn't previously have matter?
Clearly.
How is it clearly? Give us the evidence for that, young lady.
Well,
clearly.
The Talos.
She's clinging on to this for the Bucky reference.
I know. Shapeshifting isn't the same as adding stuff.
Talos becomes a woman when he comes off the beach. So we added matter that wasn't there before.
That's true.
Well, depends.
And got rid of matter that was probably there before too.
Ladies are maybe smaller than Skrull. Well, it's definitely smaller than man.
So I suppose what he's saying is, if you've got 1 kilogram of
Skrull
stuff, how you shape it, it'll always be still 1 kilogram. It's just
it's the first time Mr. Pollard's got what I'm talking about.
So what he's saying is Bucky's legs might be substantially shorter in order to add that extra. In order to keep it within the 1 kilogram example I've just given. Yeah. Now do you see where we're going?
Yes,
I should keep him around.
That was very technical.
Historic moments. It's the first time he's understood what I'm saying. It's not like the Olympic Games where you have a man performing as a female.
Why? I mean...
So if you've got what's his name? Talos. So you've got Talos and he's 25... He's 15 kilograms, yeah? And there's a lady who's 16 kilograms. You can only shapeshift for what you got. Does she have like a smaller boob or something? What happens?
Maybe, but like...
You're not giving me any evidence to support your theory. You're just saying shit.
To go back to what we were originally discussing, what's the perks of being a Skrull if you can't shapeshift if she was part Skrull, which he isn't. So I suppose we're talking about something that's not relevant for this film.
Maybe not. Well, okay. If I had shapeshifting abilities, I would probably be a villain, and what I would use that for is to use facial.
Yeah, no, but
recognition.
you're missing the point. If she's part Skrull in the comic books,
Yes.
but she can't shapeshift because she's only part Skrull. What's the point of being part Skrull then?
You don't have the control of your DNA, do you? Her mum was Kree.
No, I know, but what I mean is, she presumably, that's a bit like saying I don't know. I'm trying to give a completely useless example.
Well, if you did your ancestry, 25% of you could be Venezuelan. So what does that make you?
No, I was just interested in why they made, because you said she was made.
No, I'm saying she's a hybrid.
Oh, right, okay.
She wasn't made. She was
right, okay. Oh, well, that I understand then. She's a bit like Spock, isn't she, where she's at... Right, okay. But the cat...
Oh, I love the cat. Who doesn't want a flirkin after that?
Well, what? Did you think there was something weird about the cat when the Skrull sort of shimmied away, or did you just think that Skrull don't like cats?
No, I noticed the weird thing about the cat in the record room, because I was like, the cat was outside. Oh, then the cat was inside. There's something weird about that cat. So I already knew that it wasn't really a cat. And then obviously the Skrull was like, oh no, that's a flirkin. I was like, what the hell's a flirkin? And then bam, all the tentacles come out of his mouth.
Did you Wikipedia what a flirkin was?
No, I didn't actually. I was assuming you would.
No.
Did you not?
No.
Shall I explain to you?
Go on.
Because in the comics, the cat is just a cat.
Oh, how disappointing.
Well, because of the re-origin of this, so it's called Goose, but in the comics it's not called Goose. It's called Chewie. But the reason
As in Star Wars Chewie.
Yeah, or someone who likes to chew. But they've called him Goose because obviously it's the wingman from the film, Tom Cruise film.
Top Gun.
Yeah, I didn't get that reference.
They've changed
Did you not?
No.
Jeez Louise.
We're doing all the heavy lifting here, aren't we?
I know.
So the Flerken essentially is well in the comics it's Rocket Raccoon who tells Ms. Marvel that the cat's a Flerken, and essentially what a Flerken is a cat-sized TARDIS with pocket dimensions. The cat is able to do what it does with what we know it to do at the end of the film.
Okay.
Because it's basically a small pocket dimensional being inside its stomach.
Right, okay.
So when you see how it all ends up being back,
yeah.
So when all the tentacles
You just...
pop out, that's happened to me a few times, mostly at
Lord.
libraries. Basically, that's what that is. So it's able to do that. But that's been, it's not, I wouldn't say, not even retconned, it's just that they've decided in the wisdom, which they do sometimes in the comics, is they reboot a storyline.
Yeah.
And that's what they've done. They've given it the Flerken. I've put in my notes a Flerken, not to be confused with the wig that covers a lady's flange.
Are you shitting me that you just said that?
No, because that's called a merkin. I'm surprised you didn't Wikipedia that. See, why are you Wikipediaing all the shit stuff?
Oh my god.
So yeah, anyway, so that's basically more recently, particularly the crossover in Guardians of the Galaxy.
That was more information than I expected.
It's all valid
on
though,
the
facts.
Flerken.
Yeah, so when he's checking out who runs fast, check out Flerkens. No, not Flerkens. Check out Merkins. I might buy one just to wear as a beard.
I want to see that next week.
You get coloured ones. Anyway, we're moving on to it.
Now, Monica and Maria Rambeau, I can see in your notes, you seem to have an affinity for them.
Yeah.
Where?
Nice characters. How strong is that little girl?
Physically or just emotionally?
Emotionally strong, obviously. She might be physically strong at some point in the future.
I didn't pick up on that really. I think I just was like, all right.
And she was funny. Did you get the reference to Fresh Prince? That made me chuckle.
I did. In fact, you promised to rap the theme tune.
Not live on here, I will not. We're having a wrap-off after this.
Not unless it's been recorded.
Well, the only wrap-off I want is the one from KFC containing a chicken fillet.
That's making me hungry now. Yeah, no, but two really excellent characters. Obviously, there's a reference to a future series with one of the characters, which is great. So that all made a little bit more sense. But it's nice to see Maria Rambeau's character be so pivotal in the process of Carole kind of remembering who she is and things like that. So that was nice.
Because they also have a relevance in the comic books, don't they? What about the big fight scene at the end? The crescendo. You've sort of suggested that you've enjoyed the film throughout. What, because of the nostalgic ties to it?
Yeah.
What about the big
humour.
finale?
Boring. She just basically beats everybody up, doesn't she?
Well, it lends
Bam,
itself
bam.
to what Mark doesn't like about powerful heroes.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about the music, Dan?
Fab. Gwen Stefani. Gotta love her. I do love that song.
Although the Nevermind album wasn't released in vinyl till 1996, so that's anachronism.
Wasn't that the Magic Kingdom? Or was that one of the songs off that album?
Is you Never-ending story you're thinking of?
No. I think it was No Doubt, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
She was singing as No Doubt.
Yeah,
off
it's
the-
a great song. But it's all female empowerment again, isn't it? But in
Yeah.
a very cliche way.
For me, things like that need to be organic. I don't want to be. I say this all the time. It's like it is a bit like a broken record, but if it feels forced,
Well, I think they had CDs in those days.
yeah, broken vinyl, whatever. Yeah, well, if it's
A
forced,
scratch CD.
Yeah.
it doesn't fit well. If it's organic and it sits in as it should do naturally. But if you're trying to tell someone something that you haven't gone to the cinema to do, you know, like it's like sort of female empowerment and being strong and all this is like, you know, we were talking about the opportunity of outcome the other day, weren't we? So therefore, it's like you're not marginalised simply because you've chosen a different path.
The thing that bothered me about that whole scene the most was why didn't she kick Ronan's ass when she had the opportunity? Because that really bothered me that she'd done all that thing to.
And let him get away.
Yeah, why? I would have just
We know
taken
why.
him.
We know why, because he had a contract for another film.
Because it would have cost billions.
But that's where it fell short for me a little bit because she had prime opportunity to kick his ass and she didn't.
And Yonrod as well, she didn't really kick his ass
No, she
either.
just sent him packing without anything. So I'm like, if you're going to do the job, do the job. Aren't you trying to protect the scroll, but then you're keeping key people alive? Why would you do that when you've got an opportunity
Sequels.
to just get them out? Yeah, obviously it's sequels, but it's just frustrating if you're like, you know, wanting...
It's an interesting take because when we've been to see comic properties that are lesser known than the main ones, and Marvel do it well where they take a comic property that no one knows much about and they really, you know, make it work. This, interestingly, didn't seem to hit the same level of impressiveness to me as others, even though it is a well-known character. Well, within the comic book fandom it is. You know, it sort of just seemed to be, like Mark said about sort of the superhero, sort of Superman complex thing. It's just a really, really, really powerful
person.
yeah. I mean, she doesn't actually need to be in a team. She could fly around the universe.
Well, that's the point. She learned how to fly in like 2 seconds. So what else does she need? Boring.
Is that what your superpower would be, just flying?
No, I would... what did I say? My superpower would be? Can't remember.
Remember it.
Good memory, yeah.
Oh, transportation. No.
That's a taxi driver.
Yeah.
All right.
Long haulage lorry truck driver.
Aim
We'll
high.
just edit that
Ice
bit
road
out.
trucker.
What about Yonrog? Did you like Yonrog? Jude Law.
Jude Law
Got a
annoyed
little
me.
bit of Jude.
Really? No.
Hey, Jude.
No, I'm not a big fan
Well, there
of
was some
Jude Law.
rumours at the time that he was going to be Marvel.
Oh, okay.
In fact, they all thought he was, didn't they?
No,
And then
I
with
wasn't that
Annette
keen
Bening.
on his... She played a great Marvel. I liked her character. I liked her hair.
Well, she was
Very
actually the
superficial
supreme
again,
intelligence. That's
God,
that's what.
you have to get the better out of me. Like, you just...
No, I
showing
think-
everybody how
No, I think you've picked a film that's a bit difficult after the epic one that was Captain America. You've picked another captain, but this time round,
And she wasn't even
Great.
referred to as Captain Marvel anywhere through the film, so that also
probably
confused
just
me.
not to confuse everybody because there's that many people running around with "I'm Captain Marvel." No, I'm Captain Marvel. No, you're Black Adam. Shut up.
Shazam!
Shazam. Which one of you of the family of Shazams are you? No, I'm Captain Marvel. No, you're Ms. Marvel. Who? I'm Marvel. Yeah, it just gets mental. But she was also the Supreme Intelligence. Now, that was a twist, actually, that I quite liked, because I've got it in my notes. Because in the comics, the Supreme Intelligence is just a massive brain. So when all the clever people die, they absorb all that intelligence into a huge brain with massive eyes and stuff. So what they've done, which is quite good for the fans of the film, is they've just made Annette Bening that isn't unsightly.
Why? Because she has a massive brain.
Well, in the comics, it would just be just an unsightly, massive brain matter, which I think would put people off if you didn't like the film to start with.
That would have tipped me over the edge,
yeah,
wouldn't it?
because it's a bit like, when we were talking about Captain America,
Yeah.
and we were talking about who was the guy I said I liked for the comedic part.
Armin Zola.
Yeah, so if you
Christ.
consider what he looks like in the comics, the representation, you don't really see that till later on it's not the same as you saw in Captain America.
How's my nerd level going from this episode?
Well, it's better than mine. That's why I'm feeling slightly insignificant here. You two are just nerding out while I just sit here going, oh, well, I didn't get that on Wikipedia. What questions do you have about this film that you would perhaps like to discuss or would like some further padding on before we go into the ranking section?
Well, these might open up some spoilers, though. Can I tell you what open questions were left for me as a result of watching it?
Well, if we can't answer them because they might be spoilerific, then we'll say so, I guess, because presumably other people have the same
I'm sure
thoughts.
It will be, yeah. But just, like, the questions I had to take away were, what is John Rogg's fate now that he's been sent back into Kree with no Captain Marvel? Where has Ronan buggered off to?
That would be a spoiler, wouldn't it?
They're probably all spoilers, but I'll just mention them. Fury was writing the report about his new team and references the Avengers. So that was a nod that I captured. And the pager has been souped up by Captain Marvel that she's given to Fury. So I'm sure that's relevant somewhere. That's the open, questions I had.
I think some of those we don't know the answers to. Other ones you don't yet know the answers to.
Yeah.
So they're all very valid questions, and it's quite good to see that you're observing people and things on the back of our conversation from Captain America, where Marvel never reference anything or use anything or show anything or introduce something without there being some wider plan at some point.
I am I'm watching this with a very critical eye now.
Suspicious.
Indeed, of everybody.
Well, even things that they put into films that they haven't used. I mean, I've got a couple of Easter eggs which refer to those type of things, but they put things into stuff that they haven't used for like 12, 13 movies, and are only stuff now that's coming on to happening.
Okay.
But I mean, to answer the pager, because they're technologically advanced, that's why they can soup up the pager.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was just about where that was going to be used in the future. That was an open question.
Well, it gets used, doesn't it? Because you see it in snow.
Well, no. So, that brings me nicely on to. We'll do the Easter eggs in a second, then we'll go into the ranking. But the post-credit spoilers. So we had a debate, didn't we? Last movie about whether people should or shouldn't, and it was very much sort of on the air of caution because it might spoil things for you if you're watching them out of release date, because the release date ones have spoilers that tend to lend into the films that were coming up.
But I watched them.
So what we might do is say at this point that in the show notes we will reference the time period that we talk about the post-credit spoiler bit, so that if you decided you don't want to watch the post-credit spoilers, you can skip this part, and if you decided that you couldn't resist and watched it, much the same as Ishtar clearly did, then we can discuss it, but we're relatively limited in what questions we can ask.
But I don't think it spoiled anything for me as a result of watching it. Because I don't know any better.
You tell us what you saw then.
Okay, so I saw that Captain Marvel comes back and there's other superheroes there that I recognised. I don't know what film that is, but obviously it's in the future. That's all I saw. And I saw the Flurkin cough up the Tesseract on Fury's desk. So actually, I've not taken anything away.
Okay.
That would be a first watch type.
Yeah, because we can't say anything anyway, and I suppose that's the downside of watching it in this order at the moment, because that was a massive post-credit spoiler for us when this film came out.
Well, it was, yeah, it was, because I have to keep remembering that we didn't watch it like we have.
Yeah.
But for me, it was just,
So I feel you miss out slightly watching this post-credit spoiler now. I think because the next film's going to be Iron Man, I think now we get more into the chronology of the release dates, I think the post-credit spoilers will mean more and you'll get more excited about. I think the post-credit one for this film actually will probably leave you feeling pretty empty and cold, whereas for us we slightly weed a little bit. Didn't we, with excitement?
I'm really glad we're sharing this kind of thing, guys.
Where it fits for us than to you, this is where we're kind of coming at it from a different perspective.
Yeah.
For us, it was a proper big thing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We were kind of, because where it sits in phase 3 for us is a huge turning point. Huge.
As in, like,
Yeah, I didn't get that impact.
galactic.
Or intergalactic.
Well, I know
Boom.
it's universal.
Should we do some Easter eggs? And then let's start doing some ranking together.
Because that's my favourite part.
I'll get your firkin out.
You firking or you flirking?
Well, I don't know. Isn't that something you do? Isn't that twerking, isn't it?
That is twerking.
Yeah. So many words sound the same.
Can you twerk?
No, I did try to do the other one.
Did his back.
Flossing.
What the hell is flossing?
You do that thing.
Oh, come on, you've got young nieces and nephews.
I think he's just waving to people behind him. He's stopping the crowd.
doing it sitting down.
He's stopping the crowd, like, stay back.
It's alright, we'll get a video of you doing that later.
I think that would be great, yeah.
I need to practice.
We'll
I
have a
haven't done it for a
twerk
while.
off, Mark.
I should never.
I beg your pardon. I put in money on Mark to win that one.
I bet he would.
Well, isn't that called a milk race? Anyway. So, for the interest of time, I'm not going to go over stuff we've already talked about. But we mentioned the Stanley cameo.
Yes.
The Supreme Intelligence we know now is not somebody who is a big, massive brain that's basically a cumulative knowledge of all of the philosophers and intelligent people that are in the Kree mines. They've updated it, which is a pretty good thing. The last blockbuster we mentioned, the writer of the comic that this is based on, Kelly Sue McConaughey, gets a cameo. You would probably.
What did she play?
She played the passenger who passes Captain Marvel when she gets off the train.
Okay, I'll have to rewatch that because I don't remember.
The other thing to watch, which is on Disney Plus.
The old lady?
No, not the one she punches out. She has got glasses on though. The best way to identify who it is, if you watch the series 616 on Disney Plus. It's a series that shows you about the comic book creators and where the ideas came from and how they originated.
Okay.
Maybe additional.
You giving me a lot of homework to do.
Well, don't do it. Just do what he does.
Yeah, I think let's not pretend I'm going to go rewatch this and find out who she is. I just nod and pretend that I've done it.
Well, we know which scenes to fast forward to, so it should be pretty easy anyway.
Yes.
And she's good with the fast forward rewind.
As we
function.
noted last.
Interesting Easter egg is when Nick Fury is coming up with the Avengers Initiative.
Yes, at the end.
Yeah, so obviously it's suggested to him by Captain Marvel that he chooses Avengers. But prior to that, it was going to be called the Protector Initiative.
Yes.
And the reason why that's important, of fans of the Ultimate Comics, is basically with the Kree Empire, the Protector is also the name of a Kree soldier in the comics, who also was another version of Captain Marvel.
Fucking hell.
Everyone was Captain Marvel.
It's like Spartacus, isn't it? I'm Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
No, Captain Marvel.
However, that was in an alternative reality. So let's say multiverse for the sake of...
That's just fried my brain, that.
Yeah. We mentioned the flirking. We mentioned the original Captain Marvel, who was Dr. Wendy Lawson. Oh, we get to see Marvel's ACIS aircraft, the Lightspeed one.
Yes.
Now, we didn't really talk about that, but the reason why that's important in the film and in canon is because it's being powered by Tesseract technology.
Correct.
And it obviously, in the Ultimate Comics, Captain Marvel uses that in a parallel earth. The ACIS aircraft is used. We see, now this is something you would have seen and isn't particularly a major problem for spoilers, but we see the Pegasus project beginning.
Yeah, we make reference to it, but I still don't understand what it's all about.
It's important. It's just, as Mark had said in the last episode, be aware of everything. So Pegasus stands for Potential Energy Group Alternative Source United States.
Boom, anachronism.
That's what he said. It's obviously significant because we know that Dr. Lawson starts the project and is involved in it.
Because S.H.I.E.L.D.'s an anachronism as well, isn't it?
It is.
What is it?
Oh, I don't make me Wikipedia.
Well, I'm going to mention sword in a minute and you're going to ask me what sword is. What I'll say is, see our Captain Marvel podcast for further information. So we know that she started the project, and all I'll say is it's important to note.
Okay.
As is Project Goliath, which is in 1989.
Was that referenced in the film?
It's in the film.
God, I missed that.
Yeah. So the same plaque is mentioned in two films, but we don't find out what Project Goliath is until Phase 3.
Okay.
Captain Marvel's changing suit colours. Again, this is just a smorgasbord of Easter eggs because all of the combinations of the colours of the uniform all pay homage to the broad comic history of the character. Maria Photon Rambeau, colleague and peer of Carole Danvers before she has her Kree transformation, is the founder of SWORD, which I can't tell you about. And she has a call sign Photon, which is used in the movie, but also Monica, who becomes Captain Marvel herself, takes on the identity of Photon, but is also known in the comics as Daystar, Scepter, Spectrum, #C, another TV show that I can't mention. The Kree Skrull War we mentioned, Talos the Tame, Mark and I were talking about it before.
Fantastic. Shall we rank?
Let's do it.
So, I feel it's only appropriate that we let...
Me go first.
Well, go on then.
Yeah, go on. I want to hear your ranking before mine anyway.
Oh, well, listen, he's always first to get ranking.
So for the benefit of the naysayers, let me explain that my ranking is based on a lot of variables, right? So it isn't just...
And some Latham logic.
The Latham logic works.
Yeah, now you've spent half an hour explaining it to me.
It's not a mathematical equation, it's simply how I apportion a score and a value. So I've given this 8.
Okay, so just to recap, you give Captain America 7.
Yeah, and the reason... See, it does make sense, does it, when you look at it from a humanistic point of view? The reason why it's got an 8 is because I apply fight choreography, stunts, I apply topical knowledge and things like Blockbuster being in it and the time it's set, and I apply the comic book knowledge I have and whether it aligns. And so the reason why it scored more is because I felt there was a lot more, although I didn't particularly like her as the character, I liked the film. So for example, you're going to probably like the film because of the supporting actors rather than the main actor.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, so I can't question your reasoning because mine are variables such as it was quite clever that they had Blockbuster in 95 when in fact that was when it was at its peak.
Okay.
So 8.
What about you, Ish?
Well, I did Captain America a 7, didn't I?
Let's have a look. Yes, you did.
This is going in at a 6.
Now, would you have given it a 6 if you hadn't already given Captain America a 7?
I probably would have put Captain America at 8 now, to be honest, now that I've seen this. Because Captain America was way better than this.
And you don't think Captain Marvel's bad enough to get less than 6?
I can't give it a 5, because that would be average. And it's slightly better than average.
Well, can we let her change the score for Captain America?
We make the rules, change it, come on.
Well, I don't know whether you can because I think it might change again if you watch the other one.
But didn't you say last time that we could?
Did we?
Yeah, well, I think
he was just pandering to your
We did
needs.
say we could let you swap stuff around, but I'm not sure we should change the initial scores.
It's the characters we said
But
you could change.
Inevitably it's going to change as I watch the movies.
I think I'll allow you to swap the position of them, but I don't think I'm going to allow you to change the score, because if you ultimately have Captain America First Avenger as your second favourite film and you've given it 7 out of 10 when you first watched it, how else are we going to make fun of the fact that you completely underestimated its quality?
Well, can we not just say this was the original and then this is what it ended up at?
Absolutely not.
Hindsight isn't an option.
So
we're viewing this, having seen all the films.
Yeah, but that's the point, and I haven't.
I know,
so I
but
don't
this is
know
why
if there's
I'm
going to
on
be
interest
better
now.
ones.
But it's the same because we never, ever, ever have done podcasts on these films. So who's to say?
Yeah,
we don't
but you've
know.
seen them all, so you already have a preconceived idea of what your score
But I wouldn't change
will be.
my score simply because I saw Iron Man, and because my score would stay the same.
Why is he getting 6? Come on.
Because it wasn't as good as Captain America.
Is that the sole basis? What didn't you like about it?
I didn't like Captain Marvel, simple as that.
That's fair enough.
And for me, the whole movie was carried by the periphery characters, and so, I mean, the special effects, great. Soundtrack, really great. And so those things cumulatively got me to a 6 and not necessarily a 5.
Okie doke.
What about you?
You see, this is when it would be handy that I didn't have a rule that didn't allow for halves, because I feel it was good enough to get a 7, but because the character of Captain Marvel as a principal irks me because of the Superman issue, you kind of want to give it a 6. I'm going to give it a 7 because I do think that all the things you mentioned about the side characters are all very good. It's very funny. It's quite an easy to watch film. There's lots going on. I thoroughly enjoyed it. So I think I'd have to give it a 7 because that's usually what I'd probably give to a film I enjoy. Because I'm a wise person, had given Captain America an 8, and therefore hence my scoring system remains intact at 2 films in, as opposed to yours, Ishtar, which has gone to shit.
Blown out the water on the first 2 films.
Wonderful thing, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Shit. I want to make the rules up next time.
To be fair, the rules seem to change just as often as people's opinions. So.
Okay, that's part 1. Part 2, what we are also doing is picking our top 10 Marvel characters. Now we're going to start with you, Ishtar, because we want to know whether there's any characters from this film who want to make it in, who are going to make it into your top 10, and if so, where are they? So at the moment you've got
Bucky.
Number 1, Bucky.
Like I'd forget.
Number 2, Red Skull, and number 3, Captain America.
Yeah, okay. Talos is going into number 2.
Wow. So Talos is better than Captain America.
Definitely. The one-liners, just, yeah. He made me laugh. Nick Fury is going in at number 5.
So he's going in under Captain America.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Flurkin's going in at number 6. Character.
I'm not arguing.
Okay.
Maria Rambeau. No, I'm not going to have her. She was too much of a goodie. That's fine. And I don't really like Yon Rog, so I'm not sticking him in either. And Ronan wasn't in it for too long, so I'm not sticking him in either.
In Captain Marvel? You know the main character of the story?
No, I'm not putting her in the list.
Wow.
Yeah, and I've got a feeling Red Skull's going to be jibbed out of the list at some point in the future.
Well, Red Skull's currently sitting at 3, so if you jib him off, then Captain America's going first.
Yeah. I mean, there was nobody that really competed with Red Skull for me in this film.
Do you realise how this is going to end up badly because there's only 10 places you can fill and 23 movies?
You can swap them. We did say that.
But you can only physically have 10.
Yeah,
yeah.
It will get mod.
Yeah, so over 23 movies.
That Flurkin's getting bumped after 23 movies.
Well, I'd just like to give the cat its props because it was a good character, and the fact that got in and Captain Marvel didn't just summarises how I felt about this film.
Well, you think more of pussy than
that is quite.
If that's how you want to put it, yes.
Pussy's top.
But that is quite interesting that she's completely dismissed the main character, and on the basis that you had Captain America down as number 3 in the last one. You don't much rate the main characters in these films.
I'm a baddie girl all the time. I like the baddies, and I've just, gone for Bucky for reasons that we've already gone through.
Well, Latham.
So I've got.
Do I need to sit down to take these notes? Where are we going with this?
Right.
Shall I read out what your last one?
Yeah.
So at the moment you've got Red Skull number 1, you've got Bucky Barnes number 2, the Cap number 3, Peggy number 4, and Armin Zola number 5.
Okay, so I would move Armin Zola to number 6, and I would throw in Ronan the Accuser.
Oh really? Even though he was only in it for a little bit?
For like 2 seconds.
He's not in it for 2 seconds for me, is he?
Yeah, but should that...
Well, hang on. There's another rule.
No. I mean, these are your rules, so you can choose them.
Don't forget, it's us vicariously following your journey. My journey's not the same as your journey. Otherwise, we wouldn't be doing them, would we? We had our opportunity to review them. We didn't. But
that's because he plays such a minor part. He's in your number 5. But you're basing that on comic book, aren't you?
Well, I'm basing it on a couple of things. Yeah, the fact that I quite liked his character. I mean, I know I only saw him, but the thing is, that's why it becomes interesting, is because I'm using it with the cumulative understanding. Because when you get to the point where we've already been, will you change your mind?
100%. Ronan's going to be on there.
So therefore, you're going to do exactly what I'm doing. I'm only just doing it now.
Yeah, but I haven't seen enough of him to be able to.
That sounds like a you problem.
Okay, so Ronan's in there. Who else?
I'm not going to put the cat in. The cat can stay in the bag. I'm not going to put Captain Marvel in anywhere.
Wow.
We've established
I'm glad that we've agreed that, though.
Well, I mean, to be fair, I think Mark and I would have agreed on that on Captain Marvel podcast. I'm going to put... I'll tell you what I am going to do, though. I'm going to relegate my number 1 and 2 spots. Well, basically shift all the numbers down, because number 1... is Talos.
Yes, good one.
For the fact that I like the actor, I think he plays a really good role. I like the way he did Talos.
Yeah.
I like the humour, same as you.
Tell us.
I will tell us about Talos, and I just think it's a really enjoyable character to
He was
watch,
great.
and he has a lot to develop too. So that's why he's in at number 1.
Okay.
The only other character I'd throw in, I'm just kind of playing with it in my mind, Nick Fury, and I would probably put him in at 8. And the reason why I'm putting him as 8 is because I know it's going to change in the next movie.
So he's going under Armanzola.
Yeah, he is, but it'll make sense because I know what the next movie beholds, and you can't unsee what I know. So therefore, the reason why I'm putting it in at 8 is because I know after Iron Man, it's all going to change.
Intriguing.
Yeah. Well, I know straight away what's going to happen, and I imagine Mr. Pollard will have the same thing.
Okay.
Go on, Matt Pollard, what is yours?
He always takes a deep breath, which always sounds like it's quite thoughtful.
Is Captain Marvel going in your
Number
list?
1, Captain Marvel, followed by Pussy.
Pussy goes in at number 1. Right.
She does, actually, doesn't she?
Oh, God.
I'm going to put, so just to recap, mine was number 1, Captain America, because I'm not an idiot. Number 2 was Peggy Carter. Number 3, Red Skull. And number 4 was Bucky Barnes. Mm-hmm. I'm going to put Nick Fury in at number 2.
Oh, go on.
And I'm putting him in at number 2 because I'm talking about the Nick Fury we've seen right here, right now. And he's great.
He is great.
There's nothing to not love about it. He sings, he's got a voice like melted chocolate when you're doing the dishes, which is another plus point for the guy. So, you know,
Okay.
number 2.
Okay.
Talos is going in there.
You'd put Talos below Nick Fury?
Well, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, yeah, do you know what? I put Talos in at number 3, which means he's better than Agent Carter, Red Skull, and Bucky Barnes. But that's because he's funny,
Oh, yeah, 100%.
and it's the key to my heart. A funny chap.
Along with shapeshifting.
I am going to put Captain Marvel in there because I think it's ridiculous not to have Captain Marvel in there. I don't think she was as bad as you two suggest that she is. The banter between Nick Fury and her, I thought was really good. It felt natural. It was funny. She came across as a good character. She lost me in the final act when she goes all superhero-y, mega super-powered person. But before then, I liked her. I'm on Team Marvel, but having said that, she's going in at number 7, so she's going in below Bucky Barnes. I didn't like her that much.
Yay, Bucky!
You watch how quickly these change next time.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Captain.
Because you're moving into territory.
Okay. I'm really excited about the next one.
So Captain Marvel is in at 7. I would like to put the Flirkin in, but I think it's a waste of time because it's dropping off your top 10 very quickly.
It doesn't matter,
do you know
just
what?
recognise it.
I'll put Flirkin in at number...
Exactly, Team Flirkin.
Because you'll have the animal activist on you.
I'm putting Flirkin in above Captain Marvel.
Okay, good. Where did I put the Flirkin?
I no idea.
Behave.
So many jokes. So to recap, Ish, you've got Captain America's your number 1 Marvel movie so far with 7 out of 10. Captain Marvel comes in at number 2, 6 out of 10 you gave it. And your favourite characters so far, you've got Bucky Barnes at 1, Talos at 2, Red Skull 3, Captain America 4, Nick Fury 5, and the Flirkin at 6.
Yeah, fair enough.
Latham, your Captain Marvel's your favourite movie with 8 out of 10. Captain America coming in at number 2, 7 out of 10. Your favourite characters, Talos is at number 1, the Red Skull number 2, Bucky Barnes 3, Cap 4, Agent Carter 5, Ronan the Accuser 6, Armanzola 7, and Nick Fury 8.
Actually, your list is pretty fucking cool.
Why?
I like your list.
How have you suddenly just flip-flopped
I don't
there?
know. I just feel like it makes more sense.
Well, I've allowed myself a couple of manoeuvres there, haven't I?
Yeah, I love it.
It's not even tactical. It's just the way it is.
And I've also gone for Cap as my favourite movie so far, 8 out of 10. Captain Marvel 7. My favourite characters are Cap 1, Nick Fury 2, Talos 3, Peggy Carter 4, Red Skull 5, Bucky Barnes 6, Flirkin 7, and Captain Marvel 8.
Wow.
So we'll have to see how that's going to move. I would have had Coulson on there, but I don't think he does anything in this movie, so I feel my prejudice to include him would be more based on the future, and I think I'm going to save that for another day.
Exactly, and the Fleur can add more airtime.
Brilliant. Well, if you want to let us know what your rankings are so far, if you want to let us know who your favourite characters are, if you would like a comment on anything that we've discussed so far, if you would like to review the show, get in touch on social media, give us a review on whichever platform you're using to listen to this show. The film we're going to watch next is
Iron Man
1, which for us was the first Marvel. No, it wasn't. We've had this conversation. I did a graphic which shows the timeline for the movies, watching it in the chronological order that we're doing it in, and after Iron Man 1 comes the Hulk.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to have to watch the Hulk.
Contrary to everything,
That's what I said last week.
Contrary to everything we discussed. Yeah, no, that's what I mean. Contrary to everything that Ish and I discussed last week, I think we are going to have to do this if we're going to do it properly, which then lends us on to the question of where we're going to get it and how we're going to watch it.
I've got it. I'll just Dropbox it to you.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
Splendid. So it's Iron Man next.
Because it's not on Disney, is it?
No, it's not.
I mean, obvious reasons, it's because they don't own it, but you would have thought there would have been an agreement where somebody says it's part of phase 1, just pay us a lot of money.
Yeah, no, it's not.
This is where it gets ridiculously confusing.
Well, yeah, because on Disney, obviously, because the Hulk's not on there, people would automatically go from Iron Man 1 to Iron Man 2, which would be incorrect based on your timeline.
Indeed. Right, so Iron Man 1, get watching it, guys, and we will catch you next time. Ishtar, thank you as always for your wonderful newbie insight, although I'm now starting to feel more like the noob.
I'm being nerded out and I'm loving it.
Thank you for listening. Tune in next week.
Indeed.
Excelsior!
Get social at The Two Marks on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Also check them out on YouTube.